right now. Let's go to the co-host of Birds 365 and also the pre- and post-game show, which were awesome last night. Thank you, guys. Zander Krause here. Zander, you've had 24 hours now to think about all the things that went on in that game last night. What was the most disturbing thing to you last night and the takeaways for you from that game?
Yeah, almost 24 hours removed. I think the most disturbing thing to me is the defense, because you talk about, I talked about the Jalen Hurts interception that drove me up a wall. I was on Jalen Hurts in the morning on Birds 365 about it. We talk about the bad coaching decision. We talk about the drop pass. All of those things in a way can be corrected. When you're the worst rush defense in the NFL and you can't get to the quarterback, you are not going to compete with the best teams in this league ever. You can't rush the passer and you can't stop the run, you're going to get destroyed all day. And right now, I don't see a fix for this defensive line and for really this whole defense to kind of get this thing on track. We were talking about a team that has Super Bowl aspirations. Big Cells, we took a lot of shit on JAKIB Sports all off season with you telling us this team is not a Super Bowl contending defense. That was not a Super Bowl contending defense last night. That's my biggest concern taken away from the game. But I will say, I think Jalen's skating by. I think he's getting off the hook here a little bit. If you told me, Sills, you have a quarterback that's paid like an elite quarterback, he has the ball at his own 43-yard line, he has a timeout on the board, and he's got 26 seconds, and he needs 15 yards to get within field goal range of one of the best kickers in the NFL. I would say give me that scenario all day and twice on Sunday. You force that football 30 yards up the field into one of the best safeties in the NFL's hands. I'm sorry, but that is a putrid decision. I understand Jalen played great. I understand a lot of things happened where he shouldn't have been in that circumstance. I get it. But the bottom line was Kirk Cousins had his team in a late drive. He went down the field and scored. Jalen Hurts had his chance. 25 seconds on the board, a timeout, and you're 15 yards away from Jake Elliott range. Why are you forcing that football? It's 1st and 10, Dan. It's not like it was 4th and 5, a must-play. It was 1st and 10. Throw the ball away.
What do you think the better percentage play was at the end of the game? Elliott having a field goal attempt at 58, 59 yards, or a Hail Mary down the sidelines?
No doubt, Jake Elliott. Jake Elliott's been drilling field. He's been one of the best kickers in the league in the last couple of years.
Did you see what Cincinnati had happened to them by Kansas City at the end of that ball game, and what Mahomes did at the end? Drove him into a position. He ended up kicking a 54-yard field goal to clinch the win.
Yeah,
with time expiring.
When you're an elite quarterback, you have to be smarter in that moment. I understand that I'm not putting the loss all on Jalen. I'm not doing that. But when you're the elite guy and you have the ball in your hands with that much time on the clock and you're in striking distance to win the game, we could have forgot about the Saquon drop. We could have forgot about the awful defensive play. You could have walked out of there with a 2-point win if Jalen understood where he was in that moment and knew all I need to do is get 15 yards. And I probably have 2 or 3 plays to do it at least after I get rid of the football.
With a timeout.
You force it in the jet. Right, with the timeout. Instead, you force it down the field to the best safety, one of the best safeties in football, and you turn the ball over. It's a brutal decision. I don't care what anybody says. That is an awful decision by the leader of this football team. When you're an elite guy, when you're the quarterback in the NFL, the onus is put on you. You have to take matters into your own hands. I get it. The defense sucked. I get it. Saquon Barkley should have made the catch. I get it. Nick Sirianni and Kellen Moore, a brutal play call. I get it. Jalen Hurts had a chance to correct it all with that play there, and he threw it into a terrible play. Devontae Smith was double covered, and he wasn't even open. It was a forced throw, and it was brutal. I'm sorry, but that was a bad decision by the guy that really should be the leader of your team who leads you to the promised land, especially when A.J. Brown is out. Who needs to step up? We talked about Jahan Dotson, Dallas Goedert, Devontae Smith. Why not Jalen Hurts? Step up. Make amends for missing your best player on offense.
That
didn't do it. I thought that was a
four-headed awful decision. Nussmeier, Kellen, Nick, and Jalen. Because you have to think that through. Do you know one of the things that Brady talks about all the time is that how him and Belichick used to go over situational plays in games and play those war games if you were in this situation. Zander, I don't think he's prepared for those. Dude, championship football is played with 2 minutes into the half and 2 minutes at the end of ball games.
No doubt about it.
Especially in a 3-point differential league. That's what separates those great ones from the guys who are, what do you call them? Winning games versus guys that win the games. And I mean, that's just not well thought out. Now, follow me on this one. John and I had a pretty spirited debate last night on the postgame show when it came to that 3rd and 3. He's right with the player accountability, but the running back with the most drops since he's been drafted is Barkley. My opinion was, you look at that play and you go, okay, what's the one thing that can't happen? What's the risk reward here? Scores, game's out of reach. Got it. What happens if he drops the ball? You give Atlanta a free timeout, which is exactly what happened. I want to take that dynamic out. So what do? I wish I had thought this more out last night because I was in the moment here. You run the ball on 3rd and 3. Run it up the middle. What do you do on 4th down? Atlanta can't stop the fucking clock. The new play clock starts. Then guess what? You use that final timeout and you kick the field goal. You're up. And you know what you did? You burned 45 seconds off of that clock. You make that guy have to go the length of the field, basically, in 55 seconds instead of a minute 36. Dude, that's what you're doing in championship football moments. You're taking the risk of chance out of it and going with certainty. You were not scoring a ton of points. It was 18-15 at that time. It was not going to be a game where you were if you were going back and forth and scoring 30, 40 points, that's one thing. You were in a tight game, not a lot of scores, and as you said, there's no AJ to separate the rest of the group. You need to get points at a premium. And then Nick going for it. Get this, Nick going for it on 4th down and passing up the field goals. Again, I understand the aggressiveness, but when you don't have, I think what they learned last night was that A.J. Brown, if he's not on that field, the rest of that offense falls to pieces because they learned a lesson last night. Hurts is not going to carry you across the finish line without A.J. on the field. That is not going to happen.
Yeah, look, you're right. And to the play call decision, just talking about that, I think both of you bring up a great point. I'm going back and forth on it because when you break it down like that, the risk is too high considering the clock. But the other side of it is, as a coach, your job is to put your players in position to succeed. Saquon Barkley had the ball in his fingertips. Jalen Hurts put it right on the money. If he makes that catch, we're sitting here talking about a 2-0 football.
But the
defense.
position is running, not throwing the ball.
The risk was too high. That's why I think you're right. That's why you don't throw it in that scenario. But all I'm saying is it's easy to sit here and judge the play call after he drops the pass. If he catches that ball and they ice the game, we're talking about, oh, good play call there. They were stacking the box against the run, and they kick it out to Saquon and they ice the game. I get it. Both sides make a lot of sense. So, but I do think at the end of the day, you're right. And look, ultimately, the downside with the decision that you made, right? The ultimate risk that you didn't want to happen ultimately ended up happening, which proves that
the reality.
In a way, yep, you were probably right that you needed to kill that time off the clock. I spoke with Akbar, who's in the chat last night on the post game show. He brought up a good point too. Why not go for it there on 4th down to kill the clock? But they were only down. They were only up 3. So if you go for it on 4th and you don't get it, now Atlanta only has to drive to the 40. It kind of, nullifies the point. That's
not a bad way to look at it. You go for it and say you get stopped on the 1. You got to go 99 yards in a minute 20.
Well, you don't because you only need a field goal then.
Okay,
because
you're right.
Eagles are only up by 3.
No, I need the field goal.
And because you threw the ball on 3rd down, the clock will stop. So after a 4th down play, the clock stops again because you're going back the other way. So
I'm not going for it on fourth down. I'm getting
the context on that play. It really can go either way, and that's kind of why I do understand where it's like, look, you're judging the result. If Saquon makes that play, which he should make that play, we're not sitting here having this conversation. But I think you're right. The risk was too high, and ultimately it came to fruition, and the Eagles lose the game because, by the way, Kirk Cousins, who would you rather have with the ball at the end of the game, Jalen or Kirk Cousins? Atlanta would pick Kirk after he dismantled our defense in 65 seconds flat. That's my point about Jalen, where everybody's on my ass. Oh, it wasn't Jalen. Jalen's not the reason we lost. I know Jalen's not the reason we lost. He had the chance, though, to go and win, and he didn't do it. And as an elite quarterback, you got to understand that moment and do it. And I didn't think he did it, and I thought that was a fail on his part.
Absolutely. Hey, I just got a text from Gary Cobb. He'll join us at 4:30 too.
Okay, cool.
So we're going to have Gary Cobb at 4:30, and we're going to have also Angelo Cataldi. He'll be with us at 5:30 as well. So let's get into this here. I'm putting a ton of blame on Howie Roseman as well as I did in the offseason, and I'll tell you why here, Zander. If John McMullen is going to say that you can't blame coaching and he gets tired and sick and tired of people blaming coaching, well, then you've got to get to the person that put the personnel together for that defense and constructed that defense. You knew who Vic was. He's been in the NFL for 45 freaking years. You know who he is. You know he plays two high safety. You know he doesn't bring pressure. The one time he did bring pressure, Gardner Johnson got eaten up in it with a 46-yard TD pass. He never brought it after that again. Okay, you knew he's that guy. So you've got to look at Howie and go like this. Howie, the Nolan Smith move is a bust. The Bryce Huff move is a bust.
A bust.
Dude, you said it last night, and I echoed it. He is a liability on the field. He's a total liability. And you know what? He's a liability in the run game even more so. Did you see how they were blowing up the edge with him out there? It was embarrassing. Dude, I've never seen a guy play the edge in the NFL that poorly, okay? I've never seen that. It looked like he never played a down of football in his life.
Yeah, it was bad last night with Bryce Huff, man. He's going to have to do something. This whole defense, and look, in a way, Howie's entire resume right now on the defensive side of the ball falls on those Georgia guys. If Jalen Carter, if Jordan Davis, if Nakobe Dean, and if Nolan Smith, if those guys all work, you can take some of the losses that he's had, the Derek Barnett's, the Bryce Huffs, some of those things, and kind of let them go. If all of those Georgia guys, which right now, they ain't looking too good. Not even Jalen Carter looked good last night. If none of those guys work, now you're starting to see a massive trend where no defensive talent has been restored. Right now, we're the 31st or 32nd ranked defense in the league.
32nd.
So
when it came to points, no, when it comes to yards per play.
Yards per play and run defense. And run defense as well. 32nd, last in the NFL in run defense. So, if those guys can't get it together, in a way, Howie's, his defensive, what he's done on defense kind of rides on those guys. And right now, they're not looking too good. I was high as hell on Jalen Carter coming into this year. By the way, did you hear what? No, you didn't hear this because it came out during your opening hour, which, by the way, was a tremendous open to the show today. I thought a masterclass in this game. Jeff McClain reports Jalen Carter did not start the game this week. You know why?
No.
He was late to a drill or late to a practice of some sorts this week. I will read you the exact tweet. And Vic Fangio was, in a way, I guess, punishing him. I don't know, you want to call it ego, whatever you want to call it. But Jalen Carter didn't start or play in the first defensive series against the Falcons because he was late for something team-related last week. NFL sources tell the Inquirer Carter was on the field for the second series. These are all things that are adding up. You heard about some immaturity with Jalen Carter. Obviously, he had the incident coming out of college with the racing in the cars that he was involved in. Look, man, these are professional athletes. These are things that have to be handled. You have to go out there and be professional.
These are professional. No, these are athletes, not professional. Because that is not professional.
They're paid like professionals, Big Sil. So that the expectation is that they should be. But I thought that was a little bit alarming coming off of really what's been an ugly start for Jalen Carter. When we were coming into the year, I'm on the show every day talking about Jalen Carter. He's going to be an all-pro. He's this. He was nowhere yesterday, Sills. They single blocked him most of the game. Toward the end, they needed to double him a little bit. But other than that, he was a non-factor. He didn't close the pocket at all. Same with Jordan Davis. I mean, we're in trouble right now if these Georgia Bulldogs, if the Eagles drafted, can't do something. We are in big trouble.
Let me say this to you about Jalen Carter. I'm going to say something and plead with him. Please don't blow it. Don't be Big Sills. Please don't blow it. You're going to regret it for the rest of your fucking life if you don't take the game more serious. And the little things, the one thing that you have to do, and I give Jalen credit, we have to. And I think this was a shot. Now that I know this was a shot by Jalen Hurts at Jalen Carter. When he said this in the press conference after the game, we have to take care and manage the little things better on our team. And that's what he said. That's the little things on the team, is being prepared and understanding what's expected of you. That's exactly. It was a pseudo message, but it was a true message. Yeah, boy, I'll tell you.
Fletcher Cox was on WIP blowing him up as well. He said that's not Eagles defense giving up that many yards per play, yards per rush. So, Fletcher Cox is a guy that understands this city. Say what you want about Fletcher. Everybody ripped him at the end of his career. Oh, he's not the same Fletcher Cox. Well, he was a lot better at the end of his career than anybody that was out there last night is.
Boy, so he might 6.5 sacks in the way he was the best D lineman that they had last year.
Well, the bottom line is this defense has to be better. And Big Sills, you asked me what my biggest concern was. It's that, because is there an in-season fix for this? I don't know if there is, dude. No. I really don't. And if there is no in-season fix,
no,
this team is not going far.
No,
they'll be lucky to get into the playoffs with a defense that looks like that.
No, there's no in-season fix for this because there's too many holes. Now, let me get a little bit on here. Don't you think Jalen looked like 2023 a little bit? And I'm going to tell you why.
Everybody was tweeting all over the place. Oh, Jalen had a great game. He didn't impress me that much. I mean, he ran the ball great, but we need him to be better in the passing game. That's what's going to make us an elite football team.
This is where I'm going with it. He's
still struggling to climb the pocket. He's still struggling to get through his progressions. He's still rolling out to the right and cutting off half of the football field. He still isn't going to the ball or throwing the ball over the middle of the field. He's still turning the ball. I said it this morning. Jeff Kerr, me and him got into a debate about it because he's like, oh, don't put it on Jalen. Don't put it on Jalen. He's got 24 turnovers in 18 games. That is not winning football. I'm concerned about Jalen Hurts, man. I really am.
Here's why I say this, because didn't it look like last night? Predictability football again. Devontae Smith, 6 meaningless 23, 26-yard passes that are 4 yards a catch. Meant nothing in the landscape of things. And by the way, Goddard, what the fuck is up with that? $15 million and you're throwing to Britton Covey? Throw to the money. Throw to the money, man.
Oh, yeah, that's because
Britton Covey's not going to win you games.
I don't know if Jalen doesn't trust Goddard, if it's the middle of the field thing, if it's not getting through. I don't know why he doesn't go to Goddard. And by the way, Goddard had 3 or 4 catches, but 3 of them came at the end in garbage time. He had 1 catch when there was 90 seconds left in the football game. He was a non-factor for the entire game. I don't understand how he can be such a non-factor. Everybody talks about how talented he is. I said he was overrated in the offseason, and I got shelled. I got shelled in the chat. I got shelled in the comments, and I'm like, shit, maybe I'm wrong. Let me go watch some Dallas Goedert tape. He just continues to not make an impact. A.J. Brown's out. It's your chance to step up, to be an impact in the passing game, to make it easier on your quarterback. I don't know if it's on Dallas. I don't know if it's on Jalen, but they're clearly not on the same page because they haven't connected at all.
Do you know what this is?
Line of scrimmage.
A line of scrimmage. Tell Cam Jurgens to learn how to, stay behind one.
Yeah.
9 penalties.
I'll tell you what. This has been
an
issue. This has been an issue in the Eagles, though, back before Cam Jurgens took over. This has been since Jalen Hurts has been here.
But it ended really good plus plays. Those penalties. There were plays that they were getting good plays. All of a sudden, they would have a hold. They would have a guy downfield. Dude, if you're going to run these plays, you've got to be on the same page with the quarterback there. You can't be floating down the field. You've got to know that. I mean, he's the center with the ball in his hand.
I know.
How do you not know that?
Well, some of them are very critical plays at critical moments.
Third down plays.
I know. And it's just brutal. You can't be making those decisions. But like I said, it's gone back before Cam Jurgens. This has been an issue. And I think part of it has to do with, the RPO, and Jalen sometimes holds the football. So the offensive lineman doesn't always know what's going on back there. It's tough for them to make it up, but you're right. They have to fix it. There's no excuses, man. You can't just take those penalties over and over and over again, but it's been a problem for the last couple of years, and it's something they're going to have to fix.
Boy, I'll tell you, man, Bijan Robinson last night, he runs hard. He is a whale of a football player, man. I'll tell you this. Isn't that a game, Zander, that you checked and said, we're going to win Atlanta? Atlanta's a win.
Right.
Okay, now look at what you did.
Get this, and then you watched Atlanta in week 1, and you're like, oh, this is really a win.
This is a win, right? And you're like, so you lose to an NFC team. Now it's coming out and being reported that A.J. Brown may miss multiple weeks, which means New Orleans and the Bucs. Dude, can you imagine rolling into that bye week 1 and 3?
Dude, don't say that. This team, Nick Sirianni's seat is going to be piping hot if he goes into this bye week 1 and 3. Now, granted, I don't think we're going to go in 1 and 3. I know it's overreaction.
That New Orleans game is going to be.
I think this team should settle in. They have a lot of talent. Like, I don't want to be the overreact guy right now, but I'm not feeling good about this team right now after what I saw last night. If they go into the bye week,
I'm not overreacting, and I'm just echoing what I've said for the last 6 months. That's why. This is not overreaction. I've been echoing this for 6 months.
I know, and everybody's been calling you nuts. You're the hater. You're this. You're that. Fire Sileo. Do this. Sills has been right, everybody. That's the brutal. And that's the lesson I'm learning from you is sometimes I got to sit back and listen to my man, Big Sills, who's played the game at a high level, who's covered the game for 30, 40 years, and who has been through this before. You told me what the problems were on this team, and I didn't want to believe it. And now, through 2 weeks, I'm starting to see every single problem that you said rear its ugly head.
Here's just some of the stuff. I went like this. So, Zander, I remember asking you, so you think a guy who had 480 snaps, never played first, second, and third down in New York is going to just walk in and play 3-down line, and that's just going to be a transition like that? And you said, well, the organization gave him $51 million. Not a bad – you're right. And it was a projection from Howie that they thought that player could roll in and take over and be an edge setter for the Eagles. Dude, last night, honest to God, that was one of the most embarrassing defensive efforts I've ever – I saw a guy – do you understand, Zander? He wasn't blocked by offensive tackles. He was blocked by tight ends.
Dude, tight ends all day. That's what I mean. You're talking about the run game. I get it. He sucks in the run. I don't even think he can get
You put a tight end on Hassan Reddick.
So hey, I tagged you in a tweet last night. I'm not sure if you saw that. Did you see the breakdown of his 10 sacks last year? 6 sacks came versus backup offensive tackles. 1, by the way, was against Jack Driscoll versus the Eagles. 2 came versus Tua, who tripped in the pocket. 1 came versus Justin Herbert, who rolled out and he was unblocked. And then there was 1 or 2 against the good tag. 1 was against Mailata, and I think 1 was against Rashawn Slater. This is a guy that I think the hype is way overdone. We talked about the pass rush win rate. Shit, it's easy to win a lot of pass rushes if you're getting tight ends and backup tackles all season. Bryce Huff has been brutal to watch. He's been a liability. So if when you rewatch this game tape, you're going to watch Bryce Huff. It's going to be worse than you anticipated it is right now, than you're thinking right now. It is brutal. There are plays when they're running by him on the field. He's fixing his head. He's jogging behind the play. He looks awful out there. Brutal. I mean, everybody's like, oh, bring back Hassan Reddick. Not happening because you named it. Why they're not doing it. Howie will never admit to his mistakes like that. Howie has too much pride, too much ego. He's not going to do it. And this pass rush is in a brutal spot, man. None of them are getting home. It's the worst pass rush we've seen in a long time.
I had somebody, tag me on something with what Seth said. And I said, it's a fucking stupid take. I said, do you actually believe that Howie Roseman's going to go up to Jeffrey Lurie and go, hey, I want to make a play for Reddick? That means that you have to admit that Smith was a 30th pick bust. Then you have to turn around and admit that Huff was a $51 million mistake. Then you got to turn around and ask for $75 million. As you told me before, an organization and how it acts, you really think that's Howie Roseman-ish? That he's going to admit 4 failures in 1 move to bring back a guy? Absolutely not happening.
Not happening. You're
Not
right.
happening.
It's not happening. And you know what? We're going to suffer because we're going to watch a putrid pass rush. And by the way, we were worried about the pass rush coming into the year. We weren't worried about the interior of the D line. We thought, oh, we have Jalen Carter. He's going to go into his second year. If they look like that all season long, it's going to be a long season, everybody. So settle in, because if that defensive front doesn't get going a little bit, this is going to be the start of this ugly season, not the end.
Jalen, what makes this thing really awful, Zander, is that many people wanted to give the Eagles and their defense and everyone else the benefit of the doubt because of the Brazil field. Well, you were at home and you were on skates in Brazil and you were on skates in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. It didn't matter what ice skating ring you were on. You were out there skating around, getting knocked backwards. By the way, one of the most embarrassing things I've ever seen is a running back coming on a chip block and just blowing up an edge rusher like he did on Nolan Smith. I thought he knocked his fucking teeth out. I mean, that guy's just not stout enough.
All that block. We should bring that up, honestly.
You know what else? Something else about Reddick you got to remember. What happened when you put a tight end on Reddick? This guy destroyed Brock Purdy in an NFC title game and destroyed a game. You didn't put tight ends on Reddick. You put OTs like Trent Williams on him. You know, dude, you put running backs now on this guy, Huff.
It's ridiculous, dude. Look at this play. I just want to show everybody so they know exactly what we're talking about. Look at this play here. Here's Nolan Smith coming off the edge, as you can see him.
And Bijan's going to do a chip block.
Watch Bijan from the chip block. Boom. And that was the play Milton Williams got the sack. So it was actually the one decent pass rush of the night. But look at Nolan Smith. Dude.
And it was on Lindstrom.
Dude, you got to get in the gym. If a running back is cleaning your clock like that, and you're supposed to be a first-round draft pick and an edge rusher, look at that. Oh, my God, it hurts to watch.
Dude.
Oh, my God. He got absolutely lit up on that play.
Have you ever seen TJ Watt knocked out like that?
Dude, that's not a first-round edge rusher. I'm sorry, it's not.
How about that?
Look, we're in trouble, Sills. This pass rush is not good, brother. We are in trouble.
I think your talent's not good on defense. I've been saying it for 6 months, and I'll actually do this another time here too.
Well, how much are you going to put on Vic Fangio then? Because I do think the talent's not there, but boy, you went backwards from last year. We're 32nd ranked defense through 2 weeks. I didn't think it could get worse than Patricia and Desai and all that BS. Right now, we're the worst defense in the NFL.
Who was a better coordinator, in your opinion, Sean Desai or what you saw 2 weeks right now with Vic?
You know, look, I mean,
he beat Mahomes.
It's only 2 weeks with Vic, so you can't make a whole proclamation yet.
He did beat Mahomes and Stafford and
Allen.
True,
you know, look, I thought that there was an overreaction to Sean Desai last year because you're right. They beat Allen, they beat Mahomes, they beat Dak Prescott. They had a couple big wins in the middle of the season there, and then all of a sudden you give it to Matt Patricia, and the whole train comes off the rails. But you know, look, through 2 weeks, this is one of the worst defenses we've seen in Philly in a long time. Look, I'm going to keep giving you credit, Sills, because the amount of shit I manage the JAKIB channel. The amount of shit I see in the comments ripping you every single day. You told me all offseason you lost Fletcher Cox and you lost Hassan Reddick, and you replaced them with lesser talents, and you think this defense is going to be better? And I said, no holes defense. I said, well, they're going to get it together. I like the potential. I like Vic Fangio. This defense looks way worse than it did a year ago, and that's a big problem for a team that has Super Bowl aspirations.
How about this, too? Kirk Cousins targeted Quinyon Mitchell in that final drive.
Yeah.
Because you know why? The scheme hurt him.
I don't want to beat Quinyon up too much.
I'm not either. I'm not.
He's a rookie. He's going to get targeted. Overall, I think he's holding pretty well. Yeah.
I'm not. I think the scheme, to your question, what you asked about Vic, I think the scheme hurt him.
Yeah, maybe.
Okay. Too far off the ball. Dude, they were playing pitch and catch. They were uncontested walking off the sidelines. They had no freaking timeouts. What's the number one thing you're trying to do as a corner and what you're trying to do as a defense? You want them to make plays in the middle of the field, not on the sidelines. You defend the sidelines. You don't defend the middle of the field. You defend the sidelines because that's where that high safety two gets beat. He hates getting beat on the numbers. You know why? That's why those guys are playing 15 yards off the ball and almost 25 yards with their two deep safeties. Dude. And then the ultimate that you had last night was that the two safeties that played in Atlanta, and one of them was Justin Simmons. Do you know Jalen Hurts had no footballs that were completed of 20 yards or more in that game last night because AJ wasn't out there?
He had one attempt of 20 yards. It was intercepted. By the way, a brutal decision and a brutal attempt for Jalen Hurts. Nobody else wants to tell you that because everybody in Philly is afraid to criticize the quarterback for some weird reason. It's like the guy gets paid and it's like, okay, the expectations are now lessened because we paid him elite money and we need him to bring us over the top. If God forbid AJ Brown tweaks a hamstring. I mean, brutal last night. One throw over 20 yards and he throws it right into the hands of Jesse Bates. Just a terrible decision, a terrible throw, the whole 9 yards. Not good. Not good from Jalen Hurts. But to your point, that's how much A.J. Brown changes his team. You take A.J. Brown off that field, you don't have one splash play last night. Nothing over 20 yards in the air.
Your quarterback can't carry you?
Clearly. And look, Sills again. Sills has been saying it. I've been saying, oh, Jalen's going to be the MVP. He's going to come back 4,500 passing yard. He's going to do this. I'm thinking this guy's going to keep getting better. Keep getting better. Guys, you got to call a spade a spade. He has not progressed in the passing game. He had a good game last night.
He did.
He ran the ball great. He did a lot of good things.
He looked like 22. He looked like 22. I went, oh my God, there he is. I haven't seen him in a year and a half.
Right. He ran the ball great, but you still see he doesn't climb the pocket. He rolls out to his right, and he's struggling to get through his progressions and use the middle of the field. At the end of the day,
it's predictable with
NFL defenses are catching up to it. I said it, we talked about it yesterday before the show. Raheem Morris, that's a good defensive mind. Well, he had the book out on Jalen Hurts last night. And ultimately, Jalen had an all right game, but he didn't really push the needle. Like he just said, he didn't throw the ball downfield at all. He really won the game with his legs. Yeah, the one big scoring drive we had late in the game was because Jalen Hurts kept running the football. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. That's a good thing. But when you're talking about him progressing as a quarterback, he hasn't done it. He hasn't showed it at all.
Zander, his 85 yards rushing was the most impressive thing he did last night.
Yeah, no doubt.
Wasn't his arm. I got two more for you, Zander. And don't forget, folks, our great friends at BetUS, if you're looking for a new betting book, I guarantee you last night, some of you guys, man, may have hopefully taken what I said, take the points in Atlanta, because last night was a chance for you to win some games, and we got a new house that we're teamed up with here at JAKIB Sports. We're so proud to be doing this. 150% bonus on your first 3 deposits up to $2,000 and 200% in crypto bonuses as well. Log on to betus.com.pa. That's betus.com.pa. Fastest payouts in the business, 24/7 personalized service, 365 days of the year. Live wagering on all major games. Thursday night football, college football right around the corner for you. Week 3 of the NFL, week 4 college football is coming up, and it's coming up quick. So make sure you log on to betus.com.pa. That's betus.com.pa. We hope you'll do that with our friends at BetUS. All right. So someone asked me earlier, Sills, can you fix this? No. This is something that I told you that this defense was going to have to. You know the only way you can fix this defense, Zander, is if that offense gets better. You know what, too? What's crazy? Look at this. You hold the Atlanta Falcons to 58 plays. 58 plays. You held Green Bay to 48 plays. You're doing your job to help the defense. It's not enough. Most teams, look at it, 68 plays. The Eagles have had 68 plays the first 2 games. Normal good teams will play at about, look at this, they had 35 minutes too. They had 35 minutes, 68 plays. That's a really good football game, but they only had 9 possessions the entire football game. That defense is going to need more from that offense. Quite frankly, 2023 offense looks better so far.
Yeah, you're right. No, you're right. I do want to get to the super chat stills. They're
there's a ton of them. I'm sorry I missed them.
Yeah, we'll get to them at the end of the segment here. We won't. Don't worry. We'll get to all of them. Prince, everybody. We saw the super chats. We will get to every super chat. Appreciate all you guys. But look, you're right. I mean, when your defense can't get a stop like that, that means look. If this offense doesn't score 30 points a game, we're not going to win many football games. And without AJ Brown now for the next couple of weeks. By the way, Don't forget who we're playing in week 3, everybody. Coming into the year, we weren't worried about the Saints. They just ripped the Dallas Cowboys in Arlington, Texas. They ruined them. 44 points they put on the board. Now we're going to go into New Orleans, which is a tough place to play, coming off of that loss, and have to go up against that team, which maybe is the hottest team in football. This is not looking good for the Eagles. They better figure out a way to get this thing back on the tracks and quick. And it's going to be on the players. It's going to be on Jalen Hurts. It's going to be on the leaders of this football team. Jalen Hurts, Jalen Carter on the defensive side. Dude, you got to play better. You know, that's what I mean. Like, that's why I didn't want to rip Quinyon Mitchell. I'm like, look, Quinyon, yeah, he had some bad plays, but you can't be expecting a rookie to hold the whole fort down for the entire defensive side of the football. These guys have to be better. You know, and the same goes for the offensive side. If they don't start to score more points, oh boy, it's not going to be pretty, Big Sills.
All right, I'm going to bring up something that you and I kind of went back and forth on. So I watched that presser with Nick, and Nick got defensive when one of the reporters went like this to him. He goes like this. He goes, just to be clear, Nick, Kellen's calling all the plays. And Nick fired back and went, hey, if you want to start all that up again, and yes, he calls all the plays. I'm the head coach. And I'm thinking to myself, okay. And he made it very clear in that press conference that those play calls were his, but the timeout situations were his. And the decisions to throw and not throw came on Nick. Got to tell you, man, you got two guys not on the same page. And I'm talking the head coach and the offensive coordinator. Those, you can't be talking out of both sides of your mouth with two different results. And one guy saying, yes, he's the coordinator. I handled the timeouts. Well, the timeouts were handled poorly. The play calling situation, what, you didn't stop that, Nick? You didn't think that thing through enough. And at the end of the game, like you said about the turnover, on getting the field goal kicker in a position for a percentage opportunity at winning the game, you didn't think that through with your coordinator? You're not on the same page, man.
Yeah, no.
You're just not. And that setup right there reared its head in the critical times of the game.
Well, look, you can blame Nick and Kellen and Jalen, anyone, all you want.
Oh, I blame Jeffrey Lurie on that.
The front office, because this is what they did to Nick Sirianni. And everybody, don't blame your coordinator. This is what they did to him. They made everybody think he was the entire problem for the last couple of years, and then they castrated him by taking every duty he had since he's been here, and they pulled it out from under him. Now they want him to fall on the sword for Kellen Moore too. You're right, there's no rhythm. Nobody knows who's doing what. They're not on the same page. Kellen doesn't know what he can do. Nick doesn't know what he can do. It's a brutal setup. John's been saying this, credit to John, all summer about the setup of this football team. It doesn't look good, man, from the coaching perspective. I know it's week 2. I know we're in overreaction Tuesday right now. I think this team will settle in. But right now, if they don't fix some of these issues quick, this is going to get ugly quick.
Last one here. This gatekeeper guy brings something up. And gatekeeper, you're right. Oh, I'm hearing his talk out of Hurts. He ain't getting better. He hadn't gotten better since Buffalo.
Yeah, gatekeeper, I'm done with the slogans, man. I want to see
you. I'm done with that.
I'm done with it, man. Look, I get it. It sounds great. It is what it is. I'm done with that shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm almost missing Andy Reid, who gets up there every time. Oh, we got to be better. We got to be better. Says the same thing every time. Go and do it on the football field. You had a chance, and everybody, look, I get it. It wasn't all on Jalen last night. And this is where Prince, he wants me to read his super chat because he was mad I said what I said about Jalen Hurts. So not taking the field goal had no impact on the game's outcome. Got it. That's not what I said, Prince. I said if you're a team in this league who has an elite quarterback, you'll take the opportunity with 25 seconds on the clock and you're 15 yards out from field goal range. Jalen Hurts had a timeout on the board, and it was 1st and 10. He made an awful decision, and he could have won the game if he just made the right decision. I'm not saying all the other problems don't exist. I'm not saying the pass rush was good. I'm not saying the coaches made the right calls. I'm not saying Saquon shouldn't have dropped it. But Jalen Hurts had a chance to right the ship. When you're a quarterback in the NFL, all you can ask for is a chance. He had that chance, and he blew it with a brutal decision to throw the ball to Jesse Bates. That's what I was saying, Prince. I'm not saying that had no impact on the game. Ultimately, it came down to Hurts having the ball in his hands, and he didn't answer.
Before we read more super chats, I want to ask you this thing here, because now I didn't realize, Zander, it would take till week 3 adversity hits. And we have to look and see if they can overcome what happened in 2023. Do you think that there's enough leadership on this team where they put that behind them, roll into New Orleans and take care of business? Or do you think this is the beginning of what we saw, maybe not the extent of what we saw last year in 23? Do you think there's enough leadership from the higher-ups, and I'm talking the leaders on the team and the coaching staff, for them to be able to overcome what they couldn't overcome a year ago? Because, boy, I'll tell you, that's a lot of unraveling, a lot of miscommunication, hero ball by the quarterback, slogans and bullshit. I feel like I'm in high school listening to that quarterback. He talks like he's a high school quarterback. I mean, guy, you're a professional quarterback. Act like it. You got guys late to meetings. You got guys not taking accountability of what your job is as a professional. You got a lot of stupid, immature shit going on here that does end up becoming a factor when it comes. Dude, this is a league of little things. You know how they say it's a game of inches? Well, that's part of it. It's a game of little things too. And if you don't take care of that stuff, big things mount up off those little things. Do you think that they overcome this, that they learned from their mistakes a year ago?
Look, they have no choice, or else this is going to be one of the ugliest seasons in the Eagles' history in a long time, because the amount of talent, and the reason I say that, people will say, oh, no, we've had worse seasons. With this amount of talent on this team, with the expectation coming into the year, we've never seen an offense loaded with talent like this. If this team doesn't reach playoffs, reach some level of expectations, it's going to be the biggest collapse in Eagles history. From going back to last year, you know, Jalen Hurts everybody's going to be calling for Jalen Hurts. Nick Sirianni's going to be on the outs. Kellen Moore's going to be on the outs. Everybody's going to be calling for everybody. So they better turn it around. They better turn it around quick. You know, Reed Blankenship had an interesting comment. I'm not sure if you caught that. Did you catch this?
No.
You know, after the game, Reed Blankenship spoke, and he said, you know, at the end of the day, we're a player-led team, and the coaches apparently, no coaches spoke in the locker room last night. It was all players. And I'm like, is that a good thing? Is that what you want?
I want my players to take accountability for what happened last night.
Taking accountability is one thing, Sills. If you have coaches that don't even speak to the team after a loss like that, you don't have leaders. You don't have coaches.
Especially after what happened in 23. Well, here, let's put it this way. What would Mike Tomlin have said after that game? Would he have said nothing?
Mike Tomlin would have ripped that team.
Mike Tomlin. Did you see what that guy said at a press conference? The guy goes like this. Hey, did that guy not go back in the game the rest of the game because he had 3 legal procedures? He goes, you got it. I was like, whoa. I mean, right? I mean,
yeah.
All right, let's do the rest of the super chats. Gary Cobb's going to join us at 4:30 Eastern.
Yeah, good stuff. We'll have Gary on. We hit Prince already. Eusto says, gentlemen, Sirianni is too involved in play calls. I was going to ask you think he's still involved?
No, I think he's involved in the situation of the play calls, which I mean is like a 2-minute warning going into half, a 2-minute at the end of the game. I think he's involved in this decision, Jutso. I think he's in this decision, whether to run it or pass it. I think he's involved in that, in the decision. But I don't think he is actually involved in the play calling per se, per play. No, I don't.
Okay. I don't think he is either yet. I think that's on Kellen now, but we'll see how that rears its head. Devin Shanahan checks in. Allen wouldn't have sold that final drive. I tend to agree, but, you know, be careful because you're going to get a lot of hate in the chat if you say that.
You know, Allen right now is 2-0 with no turnovers and no receivers. Okay? I mean, just saying. Right
I don't
now.
know. I don't understand, you know, this city I grew up in. I really don't. It used to be you expect greatness from the players who are paid for greatness. Now it's like all we can do is make decisions or make excuses for the guy. Guys, we paid Jalen Hurts to elevate this football team. Why are you not expecting that of him? If he does it, we're a Super Bowl team. If he doesn't, we're going to fall on our head. I don't understand what happened to Eagles fans. I really don't. They've become soft. But why are we acting like Jalen Hurts deserves every benefit of the doubt? When something goes wrong in Kansas City, you know what they say? It's on Mahomes. When something goes wrong in Cincinnati, it's not the offensive line. It's on Joe Burrow. When something goes wrong in Buffalo, it's on Josh Allen. Why, if something goes wrong in Philly, can we not point to the elite guy who's supposed to get us out of trouble?
You know what it seems, Zander, to me? It just looks that you guys have created another category, the gray area category, I always thought that the Philly sports fan was this. You get it for greatness, you get it for being shitty. Nothing in the middle. It was black and white. Now, guess what it is? There's gray area now. Well, he's my guy. I really like the guy. He's really a good player. He's a friendly guy. Who gives a fuck about that? I don't care about that. I care about winning games.
Win on the football field. That's it. That's all I care about.
Right.
Be great. That's why I was so mad about
Be
the play
great.
at the end. That's why I was so pissed about that last play. Everyone's like, oh, I get it. There's a lot that happened in the game. That's every football game. You can never point to one play. But at the end of the day, we had a chance. We were 15 yards away, and the ball was in our elite quarterback's hands. He threw a brutal pass and made a brutal decision. Why is everybody just, oh, no, that doesn't matter. No, it's on Saquon. It's on the coach. It's on.
No,
why? Jalen had a chance to win the game. Why does that not matter?
Yeah,
I don't understand.
Barkley's the GOAT today, okay? Barkley's the GOAT and the GOAT, and they'll never blame that quarterback. That quarterback played as good as he could play without A.J. Brown. By the way, he's proven a point. A.J.'s not on the field. He's who he is. That's not – if you play like you did last night versus New Orleans, they'll beat you by 14 points.
14? Ooh, that's generous of you, Sills. I appreciate it.
I know.
They just whopped the Dallas Cowboys by 30. And you think they're going to beat us by 14 if we play like that? They'll beat us by 42 if we
They've scored 90-plus points in 2 weeks.
Yeah, and they'll do it. They'll put up another 40 burger next week if that defense can't get any pressure and those dudes show up, for a day at the office. Those dudes got to come ready to play, man. None of these guys deserve excuses. I'm sorry, not Jalen, not Devontae, not the guys on the defensive side of the ball. None of them. Why are we giving excuses?
Absolutely.
None of them deserve it.
Zander, do me a favor. Tell us where we are in the like list. I want to get Gary Cobb on here at the bottom of the hour. Dude, you guys have been great today, and I appreciate it.
Today, man. That was a tough game to watch as an Eagles fan.
Yep.
Look, I know everybody might not love all my takes today. That's fine. But when you watch that game and you're an Eagles fan and you come into this season with the expectations that we have, there's only one word for that game last night. That's disappointing. It's disappointing to watch the guy you put your faith in as a fan. You spend your money on jerseys to go to the game, and you're just going to, oh, it's okay.
My word was train wreck.
I don't get it, man.
My word was train wreck.
Let's run through these superstars. We keep getting distracted. Brian Pumper checks in. Good play call versus common sense. 22 Eagles. We're running on stacked boxes no matter what. Just saying. Yeah, Brian Pumper has been on fire on the super chats. Khaled checks in. Can these defensive issues be fixed in season? Khaled, I don't think so. Sills, do you think so?
No, I do not. I think only reps are going to help them, and that'll be in the back end of the year, probably in the third quarter poll of the season, which is probably around November. That's when you'll start to see if they are getting better. Probably around November they'll get better, but not right now. There's no chance. Yeah,
the disciple checks in. What is this obsession with throwing the ball in the red zone? Did you see all those clean pockets they gave him? Just throw it out of bounds. Disciple, I agree. Big Sills, your response to the disciple?
I don't know. I mean, their red zone offense was terrible.
Yeah, I mean, look, go back to the first quarter, Sills. 4 carries for Saquon Barkley, and the guy goes 40 yards. And then you get inside the red zone, and it's 4 straight pass plays, and you leave with no points.
You get away from that.
I don't profess to be the greatest offensive mind in the world.
No,
why?
I thought Kellen Moore did not call a good game last night.
No, he didn't.
I did not. I just, the play calling was sporadic last night.
It was not great last night. Abe checks in. Appreciate it, Abe. Everything was fucking up when Howie was on the sideline. Yeah, they keep showing. I'm sure you caught that in the broadcast.
Of course, I saw the cheerleader over there waiting to see another victory, but then he got a little surpriser at the end.
Yeah, now Howie's looking
like Tom Brady.
Yeah, now everybody's got their sights on Howie because this defense ain't looking too good right now, Howie. Hertz is good at selling chocolate to ladies in white gloves. I don't know what you mean by that, Jacob, but appreciate the super chat, man. Thank you for being here. Some Black Ninja says Big Sills need to be guest speaker for the Eagles. They'll never do that, man. They don't want they want yes men only in that organization. And hey, maybe that's part of the problem. How much yes men they want around them.
Absolutely. I won't be invited to the media tent or the media suite there at Lincoln Financial. That's for sure. Zander. Great stuff. We're going to get Gary Cobb on around the corner here. and get his spin here next. I got to take a time out here, but yeah, man. I mean, you and John do a great job. And by the way, I love the fact that John and I can go back and forth.
Yeah,
Our
man.
pre and post game show were absolutely sensational. Please make sure you check it out. Zander will catch you tomorrow. Birds 365. I so appreciate it, brother.
Sills, thank you, buddy. Everybody in the chat, love you guys. Thanks for all the support on the channel. Let's hopefully this team can get it back on the rails. Come on, maybe. Let's get ready for a win in week 3. We got to put this behind us and get back on the board. But appreciate it, Sills. Appreciate it. Everybody, catch you tomorrow.
You got it. Gary Cobb right around the corner. Please hit the like button. Keep it here, National Football Show.
He's blocked well and tries to cut.